Hello, and welcome to another episode of the
Ralph and Martin Show,
where we don't
ramble
talk
about nothing.
We don't talk about Lume or plots.
No. Speaking of no Lume plots, I have a watch coming today. It's out for delivery with no Lume on it.
Ooh.
Speaking of no Lume,
Grand
I'm also wearing a watch
Grand
with no. It's a cheap watch. It's cheapy.
Timex.
I was looking for it. No. Similar. I was kind of on the fence. I probably mentioned it before. I was on the fence for ages about this watch. This was the Merci X Hodinkee collaboration, the previous one. The gray dial, the field watch, the 37mm little field watch with the ETA 2801, I think it was, movement.
Sorry, what? Which field? What? That one? Say it again.
Merci. Yes, the Merci X Hodinkee, the LMM01 or LMMH01 or whatever the hell they called it. So Merci is a small lifestyle brand like Kith, as we just discussed with Kith. Apparently, I haven't heard of a Merci, but apparently it's very popular in Paris. They sell a bunch of random stuff from like bed linens to Red Wing boots, everything in between. It's
really
kind of cool stuff. So I think about it like kind of an Urban Outfitters style store where they have a bit of everything. And they made a watch. I think back in 10 years ago, 5 years ago, roughly, they started making these watches.
So you're sure that it's not Merci?
Of course it's Merci. If we want to be technically correct.
Merci?
I ain't French.
We just thank you.
Merci. Mercy. Merci.
It's a Y or with an I?
No, of course it's an I.
It's an I. Merci. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Exactly. And then, so they started making these watches, first in quartz, and then they got a Sellita and ETA movement, put it in. They were manufactured in Switzerland. So they're little field watches.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they sold for $500. So the Hodinkee one is a Hodinkee gray dial, and it has the Hodinkee H in the middle. So it's kind of cool. What is funny is that the French president wears a Merci watch, which is kind of neat. Which we had a big debate. Why, if you were the French president, obviously you would wear something French, right? But logic would dictate you would jump to Cartier. But then the problem would be you would seem too elitist.
Okay.
So by having a $500 euro cheaper watch, nobody thinks of you as this
true.
Rich oligarch. Instead, you are a patriot, I guess.
Yes.
So it's a very cool little watch. It has the same ETA movement that the Hamilton khaki field mechanical has. But it is the non-Hamiltonized version. Hamilton increased power reserve by reducing beat rate. So the Hamilton version is 24,000 beats per hour, I think it is.
Okay.
24, whatever is less than 28.8, and the ETA stays 28,800. So
42 hours it has, yeah.
Exactly. So the other one had 80, but then the sweep is much smoother compared to the Hamilton one. But anyway, it's a Swiss-made watch with a Swiss ETA movement in it, and it's designed kind of in partnership with Hodinkee and this brand Merci.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it, and I think, it's a nice field watch. I like also the other ones with the sector dials and stuff. It seems to be quite nice, yeah. But 38 millimeters, yeah.
Yeah, 37 and a half. So it's smaller than 38.
On their website,
the size is good.
It just says 38 diameter without wheel and with wheel.
Wait, maybe the Hodinkee one is smaller.
I don't know. LMMH01. Is that the
If
Hodinkee
you Google
one?
the Hodinkee one, the LMMH01, it says 37, 38 with crown, no?
No, it says with wheel. I guess that's what they mean with the crown.
With the wheel is the crown.
40 millimeters and 38. But maybe they rounded up. Who knows?
So on their website, I don't know
because
if it's
they
on
also
their
say
website. On their website, it says 37.5. I mean, we're talking about no, it says on Mercy's website 37.5 as well.
Maybe I'm on the wrong one. I'm on mercy.com.
There's two. Yeah, Merci. You go to,
anyhow.
I guess they do say diameter without wheel 38, but if you go to the actual, go to the watch, you see up above, it says the watch.
It says 37. Yeah. And they also say that the wheel is 0.2 millimeters, which is a bit thin. But I mean, yeah. Okay, they're obviously not thickness without glass of the watch is 0.9 millimeters. It's a very, very flat
I think
watch.
they meant 9.
Centimeters.
Yeah, I think there's a few
one is centimeters, one is millimeters.
Issues here.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's not a watch company, but it's a very, very good looking watch. So anyway, I picked mine up brand new off of Chrono.
Ooh, okay.
You see, Hodinkee sold out. They were selling them for $500, but this was back in 2019. So $500 back then, now probably is more now. So Merci on their website, while they used to be the same, I think they were 450 euros at the time on their website, now have upped this to 590.
Wow. Okay.
So it's gone up considerably. And I bought mine for 450 US.
Best
all
deal.
In.
Best deal.
Yeah. So no, what's it called? Import duties, anything. So not a bad deal.
I just looked at their website, and beside it's cool that they have these watches, but they also have a Peanuts collaboration.
They have a few. They had Peanuts, and then they had another one as well.
Isn't that mind-boggling? Peanuts is collaborating with everybody on the planet.
It's kind of weird.
It's a bit weird, no? I mean, so many Snoopies. It's just crazy. It's maybe a bit too much. Don't you think the Schulz?
I think they're doing a little bit much. Yes.
Yeah, the Charles M. Schulz company is just is milking it a bit too much. Maybe. I mean, so many peanuts. I mean, it's
but altogether, I think
cool,
these this is not a what was it, the brand that we were talking about just a moment ago, which already Kith, right? This is not a Kith level pricing thing. So if you look at their stuff, they're not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. Like a tote bag is 130 euros. A pullover is 90 euros. A shirt is 60 euros. So yeah, it's not cheap, but it's also not the Kith prices that we saw.
You can get
but the watch is also.
You can get a normal cotton tote bag for 25 euros, right?
Oh, I'm just looking at and then they sell a bunch of other brands like Asics and Barber and Birkenstock, Hoka, Patagonia, these kinds of stuff that are kind of, normal everyday brands. So I think that's kind of cool. So anyway,
it's a cool business. Yeah, they're selling stickers. Peanut stickers for 7 euros.
I was second guessing whether I should buy this, and I'm second guessing how long it's going to stay in the collection, whether I'm going to keep it or not. But at the end of the day, I said for $450, that's the top I'm willing to pay, which is less than even what Hodinkee was charging.
Yeah.
Because for Hodinkee, you would pay the VAT, import duties, plus the shipping, right? So I was at $450 all in is a very good price. So I messaged the seller. He's out of the UK. And the guy said, no way. No, I would never do that. And then I said, okay, cool, fine, whatever. Do that price. I think it was 350 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Is what I offered. And he said, no, there's way too cheap. And then he kind of went off on me for a little bit. So I said, okay, sorry, thanks. And 24 hours later, he sends me an offer for the same price that I offered him 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
Without any negotiation, right? He didn't go above and say, okay, well, 370. No, he did the exact price that I offered. But he also, like, over the 24 hours, I think there was a lot of mental struggle in his head, because at first he started saying, no, I would never do it.
Yeah.
Then he sent a couple hours later, he sent a link to the Merci website. He's like, it's 590 euros. And then silence. And then here's an offer for 350. So,
you see,
no idea.
I mean, I have been in the same shoes, right? I mean, I had people just, some of them are begging me for a specific watch, right? When I had these, what was I selling? I was a Bamford that actually went to the UK, back to the UK. The Bamford.
Which Bamford?
One of the Bamford
GMT?
G-Shocks. No.
The first one?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think the first one.
Because I really like the square Bamford G-Shock. I don't like the 6900.
You know what I didn't like
on
it?
Was cool.
the display was very hard to read.
It was.
It was very, very, I don't know what
Black.
was wrong with it. Yeah, it was really, the contrast was not there. The newer ones were much better than that. But anyhow, so I had a young guy who just told me his entire life story of how he's a student and he can't afford that much money. And if I can't reduce the price and all of this stuff, right? And, I recently had a discussion with somebody as well who happened to have exactly the same situation like this, where somebody was haggling and crying on, oh, he's such a poor guy and he really wants the watch. And then he gave him the watch only to see it 3 hours later posted on a different watch forum for sale for $200 or $300 more. And that's the thing, you can't believe anything because you think you give somebody, his dream watch and you just make it more affordable to them and say, like, okay, fine. I'll just give you the special price because, poor guy. We all been there, right?
Yeah, and you feel bad for him and then he goes back and screws you over.
Exactly. And then without blinking, selling it at the same day for more.
If only this works at Rolex, right? I'm just a poor boy. Yes, I'm a student. Give me discount.
And this is sad with that people who have actually a good heart then are being screwed like this. Where you think like, oh, come on, I thought I really did something a big. You know
what? This is what's funny. Is I was watching on YouTube. If you remember the old Pawn Stars episodes, where remember the show Pawn Stars?
Yeah. I was just mixing up the letters of the word. I was
Which
like,
word?
what? No. I mean, if you say Pawn Stars, I always think of Stormy Daniels.
Porn. No, pawn.
No, I know. I said pawn. I said also pawn, but it's a.
Oh, I thought you said porn.
No. I said pawn, but this is what I'm thinking, man.
That show
Dirty
Porn
mind,
Stars.
Dirty mind.
No. So I was watching them because they put a lot of the old stuff on YouTube now. So they have clips about watches. So they say like the 5 most expensive watches over the series and the 5 rarest things. And there are lots of watch specific ones. And I'm surprised how much Rick knows about watches, the main guy. Surprisingly quite a bit.
Yeah.
About everything from old American pocket watches all the way up to, he bought some AP, apparently when they made the Terminator movies, End of Days, they had an AP collaboration with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes, they did.
So
it was,
he was talking about all this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was ridiculous.
Watch, yeah.
But what was funny is sometimes there was one lady with a Fabergé brooch. So it was made by Fabergé, I think in God knows when. It was quite vintage, quite old. And it was a spider.
Oh, okay.
And it was what do they call it? The Black Widow, and it was a brooch, like a women's brooch that they would pin on to themselves. Sure. And it was like about this big, full of diamonds. The whole back of it was an onyx. It was insane. And the lady's like, I don't know what it is. I just want $2,000. And he goes, this is worth kind of like $20,000. And ended up paying her, I think it was like at the end of the day, $10,000 he paid, or $15,000. But what was funny is she came in asking for $2,000. And he said, because I have a conscience, I'm not going to just pay you $2,000. I'll give you 15 or whatever it was, right? And the lady goes, then can you do 17? And she's like, you wanted 2,000 just a minute ago. I'm offering you 15 and now you want more. Like, it's ridiculous what these people are doing, right? And the same thing with this buyer that you had. Oh, I just need this much. And then you offer them a deal and then suddenly they want more. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, this is very, very, very sad sometimes, right? Yeah. How quickly entitlement comes in, right?
Exactly. All of a sudden, I mean, there's been a lot of, by the way, experiments on this. If you play the game Monopoly, how quickly entitlement comes in Monopoly. Because all of a sudden, if you're winning, you all of a sudden have this feeling of, I'm the best.
I'm the big pass.
And then all of a sudden you're knocking down people's houses and building hotels everywhere and laughing at others' misfortunes, right? It's funny because there's been a lot of these like psychological studies how Monopoly can be a very real showing exactly of judgment of character. What would happen if you were suddenly given a bunch of money?
Totally. And I think, I don't know who said that. I think the very famous politician said this once, or military man said, if you want to judge a person's character, a man's character, give him power.
Yes.
And then see what happens, because that's usually when,
Yeah, exactly.
the real character shows very often.
Yeah, because you can't, you can have a person with no power and they have the ability to do nothing. You could have, for instance, the world's worst human being.
Yeah.
The most racist individual in the world, and he has no power, therefore nothing happens. But you give him power all of a sudden, and now he's, committing genocide or something, right? Yeah. So, and the same thing goes the other way, right?
Yeah,
if we said this, if Hitler would have been a painter, the world would have been a very different place.
The problem is he wasn't even a good painter with his postcards.
Yeah, but he thought, funny thing was, he thought he was a good painter, and that was what was funny. But that narcissism really came forward in all of the aspects.
It's like, okay, I suck at painting postcards, so maybe I should become a leader of a country and then start a second world war. That would be a great idea.
Not even his country.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the other funny part. But anyway, on that bombshell, what are you wearing today?
I am wearing the Casio-tron, which
again, 2 in a row for the Casio-tron.
2 episodes in a row, I know. But I really like it. I have my Gérard Perregaux here as well, my Laureato black ceramic, but I decided for this episode to wear the Casio-tron. I'm really enjoying it.
So, it's a good watch.
By the way, I also picked up the watch that didn't sell in the auction, the Casio.
We were discussing this. Yeah, we should talk about this one because it's such a weird watch.
GMW B5000V.
V1.
V-1. Yeah, it's a watch that is brand new.
Let me pause you right there. Before we get to this watch, I think it's fair to talk about the 2 other black metal G-Shocks that came before it.
Sorry, before that, we should ask you quickly what you are wearing.
No, we can pause. It's fine. We'll go. We'll talk about it. There's no. Yeah. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very free form talk. Ralph and I haven't talked in a couple of days, so we're just recording our chat. So, the first thing was there was the GMW something
B5000 GD. That's the shiny.
GD was the black one, the shiny black one. That one came. So first we had silver, metal, and gold. Those were the 2 first ones.
Correct.
The next one after that was the shiny black, right? With the black dial.
Yeah.
Or black negative display. And it was shiny. It was shiny as hell. Then and that was at the same price as the other metal ones. Silver and gold all cost the same. Then they made one more. And they called this MF1, multi-finished.
Yeah, that's
was what MF stood for.
That's the recent one, I think.
It might be recent. We're not going chronologically. We should say these are 2 other ones. But that one also was the same price as the regular, the shiny black one. In the multi-finished black one, essentially they had, as you could guess, multi-finishing. They had the shiny black, they had some matte black, and they had some brushed black. Those were the 3 colors that they were doing. But once again, all of these cost the same, about $500-$600, 2,000 dirhams.
Correct.
And then comes the one Ralph is trying to sell, which looks an awful lot like these other 2, but for some reason costs twice as much. Ralph.
Why it is? I mean, this was a watch which is metal, and usually the metal ones are about between whatever $400 and $500, right? So that's their price. That's it. $500 usually. But this one was metal, but it was called aged IP. So it's this IP plating, this whatever coating, and it was aged. So it's a matte coating, black coating that is used sandblasted or whatever, treated in a very complicated way. So it looks aged. It looks like this watch was worn for 20 years. Dragged around the floor and everything. It just looks like it's a solidly worn watch. And apparently
for those of you that don't like faux patina, this is the perfect watch for you. The whole watch is faux patina.
Yeah, and it has these like, it's like a stone washed jeans, right? It's it looks rugged. It looks cool, actually. That's when I bought it. And I bought it pre-owned for a good price from somebody in the US. And because it was sold out relatively quickly, because they only produced a very limited amount because it was so hard to produce them. So they just made it for, 2-3 months. And then they decided that's it. And they sold it for a list price of $1,000.
which was a lot.
Which is
I
a
think
lot. And you think, okay, so I'm paying double the amount of a normal watch for it to look like it's a pre-owned watch.
Yeah.
So that was a bit weird for people, but it became obviously a bit of a collector's item. So, yeah.
But not big enough to sell in the auction.
But not here. I think here, everybody thinks like, what the hell? Why should I buy this watch?
Why did you mark it so expensive?
Yeah. So old.
But not just that. So were all of them different? Was the aging different watch to watch, or were they all aged the exact same?
Yeah, it says that this black IP has a vintage appearance, a unique weathered and vintage appearance, and it's a very proprietary aging process.
But once again, different per watch or all the same?
From what I can see, it looks like it's different for each watch. But
okay,
yeah, the thing is, it looks like it has little scratches in it. But if you go over it with your finger, it's smooth, right? It's just like, I don't know how they did it, but it is actually pretty cool, and it represents, of course, the legacy of ruggedness.
Well, this is actually something that's going on right now in the car world. People are taking their cars and are essentially sanding down certain areas, down to the bare metal. They are then spraying it with vinegar. I think it was some vinegar solution and God knows what else. And it creates a surface corrosion.
Okay.
And then re-clear coating the car.
Wow.
So essentially sealing that singular place of corrosion in. So once again, if you were to run your finger across it, it would feel totally smooth, but you see that there's rust there. So it's a very cool kind of, you do this with, these rat rods that you are trying to make look older, but in fact, they're very highly maintained and very, mechanically sound cars.
Yeah. It's interesting to see that. I mean, this is really it's a watch that I sort of liked, but I thought, okay, it's one of the negative display watches, so I thought, okay, let me sell this, because also I thought it will get me at least a decent amount of money, because the cheapest you can find this watch on Chrono24 is 4,000 dirhams, right?
Yeah.
On eBay, you find the cheapest in dollars now, 1,100. If it's worn, I know it sounds weird because it always looks worn. It's a bit less, but it's never been below $1,000, right? So,
and you tried to sell it for half that, and nobody bought it.
Yes, exactly. And I thought, okay, then in this case, it's not worth it for me to sell it. I just keep it.
Yeah,
because I don't need to sell it. I was just thinking, yeah, and then so I got it back, sized it again to my wrist, and I decided to wear it a few days, and I really liked it, so now it stays. Sometimes these things are meant to stay with you eventually.
Speaking of these G-Shocks, have you checked on Chrono what's going on with the forged carbon ones? Are the prices going down, or are they still relatively stable? Because I really, really, really like the forged carbon black one.
You mean the TVA or TVB? I think it's the TVA. TVA
is
the black one.
Is it TV in the thing?
I think if you're UN1, I think. Carbon. No, this is not carbon. It's titanium. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, TV is titanium. The UN is the forged carbon, and it looks so cool. Aside from that stupid since 1983 that they put on the dial, the rest looks super nice.
So what is it again? Sorry, B5000 what?
You don't remember this one?
No.
The forged carbon. It came in two colors, the blue and the black. The GCW B5000 UN. They sold for, I think, 8,000 dirhams.
Yeah, I skipped these because they were, yeah. Of course. I remember.
But I was wondering if on the secondary market on Chrono, if they went down.
They did to an extent, but they're still.
What's the cheapest one? 6K?
Yeah. 6K.
Sort by price for me. Sort by price.
This is low to high.
This is the why is the first one 5,000? 600. I thought I said 5,999. Okay.
Yeah.
So 5,600 for the blue one. I'd wear the blue one. I prefer the black one, but they're both really cool. I tried them on. They have them at Dubai Mall. They are super cool. You'd be insanely impressed at the weight. And I like it. And I think they did sapphire crystal for this one.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they did, because everything, I mean, the titanium has sapphire crystal. I'm sure this one has. I was a bit, I saw a lot of people being a bit disappointed that the Casiotron doesn't have sapphire crystal on it. It has a mineral
but
crystal.
Once again, the regular
level.
metal doesn't have.
Exactly.
Even the aged one doesn't have a sapphire crystal.
Correct. It does not.
So I think their price point is generally, if it's over $1,000 US, then they're doing sapphire. If it's under, then they're doing the mineral crystal. But my back to that Merci, that one also has a mineral crystal as well.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool. Why not?
It does. It does work for most. I think.
I enjoy the warmth that it gives. I look at the scratches on my Speedmaster Hesselite, and I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's, you earn those scratches. Sure, you can remove them, but there's no reason to. Yeah,
but I think in this case, I mean, the mineral crystals, I didn't see many scratches on mineral crystals either. I mean, it's pretty tough as well.
It is. And this is the funny thing. Everyone's all complaining about it, but I feel like, no, it's totally fine.
If you think about it,
it depends on what you're doing.
All the Seiko 5s, they all have hard legs, mineral glass. Yeah, right?
Mineral glass.
It works. It's mostly fine. I mean, in most cases, you won't have any issues with it.
I mean, it depends. If you're working with your hands, let's say you're a carpenter and you're doing this for 20 years and you wear the same watch every single day. Yes, that watch is going to end at the end of the day look like you can't even read the dial because it's going to be so. But then you can just you don't even need special tools. You get yourself some toothpaste and a toothbrush, and much of it will buff out with that.
No, not with mineral glass. That's only with plastic.
Was it only with plastic?
Yeah, yeah. Mineral glass you can't. It's like sapphire, but just not as hard. It's glass. It's glass. It's not plexi. You can't buff it.
So wait. Pause. So the mineral crystal is glass.
Yes.
But so I was talking about plastic in these cases. So yes, you can buff out the. But is the mineral on? I thought mineral could be plastic as well. No. I thought the G-Shocks had mineral plastic.
No.
Not glass.
Well, the metal G-Shocks have mineral glass. That's what it's called.
Is it? I thought it was mineral crystal. Mineral.
Yeah.
Are you
mineral
sure?
Crystal is glass. So yes, I am sure. Yes.
I always assumed when they say mineral crystal, they meant plastic.
No. So we have here, if you look at the official G-Shock website.
Yeah, that's glass. It's tempered glass.
Yeah. Mineral glass, hard glass, resisting scratching.
All right. I learned something. So I didn't know. So now,
you can put your toothbrush and toothpaste to it and it wasn't going to do anything.
You're right. You're right. In that case, what you could do is you could buff it down. If it's obviously the G-Shock, it's recessed. But if it's a glass that protrudes, then you could sand it down and polish it. But then you're not going to be using, your regular types of what is it? The Polywatch, right? Polywatch is not going to do anything. Polywatch is very similar to toothpaste. Works on plastic. Correct. But with mineral glass, if it's just regular glass, you could just sand it down with sandpaper.
Yeah, but if you ever get it shiny again,
you got to polish it as well, right? It's the same thing that you do.
You might end up with distortion and all of this stuff. So it's really pretty. I mean, I did this with a Swatch watch that was heavily scratched and that had some really deep scratches. And I decided back in the day when I was younger to say like, I'll buy this Polywatch and I just polish it out, and I did. But I also made the crystal quite distorting. So it looked really, because I really just polished on that scratch. So obviously I really took a lot of material away from that particular area and the rest didn't. So it was distorting the watch face. It looked horrible.
Well, so fun story. I was between two of these Merci watches when I was going to buy one. One was brand new on Chrono, but listed for a high price. That's the one I made the offer to, ended up buying. The other one was listed for a lower price, which I made an offer and the guy essentially accepted, but then he disappeared, and then when he came back, the offer had expired. But that one would have been significantly cheaper. But with the way it is in the US, you have to have the taxes on top, you had shipping on top.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it ended up being the same price as the brand new one.
Yeah, the thing is,
even though the original price seemed much better. I think it was like the guy offered $400, and then after $6-7 of shipping and then $35 of taxes, you end up at $445 at the end of the day.
That is true. Much. This is the weird thing.
But that one,
that
one had a big scratch in the glass.
Ooh.
And the guy said, yes, it could be polished out. I asked specifically. And the thing is, I assumed it was the same like the, I thought it was plastic. So I was like, okay, no big deal. Polywatch, get it. But now that you're mentioning this, he explicitly said, oh yeah, that can be buffed out. No problem. And now I'm looking back at it like, I'm very glad I didn't buy that one.
Yeah.
Because that would have been, and it was a bad scratch. It was like across the entire crystal, top to bottom.
Yeah, that's not good. So you can't get this out. The only thing you can do is fill it up with something. I mean, there's some glass-like
we did this with car windows when your windshield cracked, right? And then you put like little glue in there.
And then it just disappears. But yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah.
Like the refraction has to be the exact same. And with watches, they're so small, you're going to see it. It's not going to be pretty. So I'm a little grateful that I didn't buy that one. Anyway, what am I wearing?
Yeah, whatever you wear.
Yes, I told you we'd come back to it. So in the same vein of a French no lume watch, I'm wearing a French no lumed watch, which is ironic because I didn't mean to put this on. In relation to that one, I just saw it and I'm like, yeah, I haven't worn this in a while. So I'm wearing my Cartier Santos, the medium size with the bracelet, which I very much like.
One of the best bracelets in the world.
No micro adjust and a shitty clasp.
Yeah, okay. The micro adjust is one of the things that
and the shitty clasp.
Why is it shitty?
I don't like butterfly clasps. That's the only reason it's shitty. Yeah, I like single-sided clasps.
Generally, I like butterfly clasps when they, because they can sit very nicely on your wrist.
This one does not. But if you look at it, this one, I'll show you in the thing here specifically. It's done in a very stupid way, and it's just so thick.
Yeah. Oh, that's like thick. Yeah.
It's a very thick boy, and it doesn't sit flat. It doesn't go flat. It's not exactly.
That's a bit weird, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably, if you look at this Gérard Perregaux, that also has a bit of a.
That's much thinner.
Yeah, it's thinner because it's titanium on the underside here, and the rest is ceramic, right? So, yeah. But anyhow, with the butterfly clasp, my problem with the butterfly clasps is that you usually end up, because I usually like to wear the clasp a tiny bit shorter or closer to the 6 o'clock position, because on my wrist, that prevents then the watch from moving to the top like this, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I make the band, usually the strap, a bit shorter on the 6 o'clock position. For my wrist, that works, because every wrist is differently shaped, right? But some people really like it balanced, that it's absolutely, the clasp is exactly in the middle. And for some wrists,
this is what I'm doing. Mine is exactly in the middle. I just counted 13 links on the 12 o'clock and only 10 on the 6 o'clock. But I played quite some time with, because I can just move them around, because as we said, it's a very good bracelet in terms of adjustment.
Yeah.
So I literally just take one, put it on the other side, and then see how it looks. Yeah. And then I messed with this for enough time to figure out how it was, so that when I look at it, the Cartier thing is smack in the middle of my wrist. So, which, by the way, I've also noticed, if you look in the mirror, it will not look centered. This goes for every single watch.
Right.
If you look at it right up and down, if your hand is flat in front of you, it looks centered. But when you catch it in like a mirror, it doesn't look centered. So depending on your vantage point, your clasp can never truly perfectly be centered.
Yeah, because our bodies are not exactly, we have funny face shape. Nothing is really, one eye is a bit higher than the other.
I'm a specimen of human perfection.
Yes, of course.
True story. Yeah.
True. Yeah, and no, he's not full of himself. It's just a fact.
No, not at all. But speaking of bracelets, I went to I mentioned a long time ago about in December Christmas Day actually. I bought, or my brother through me, I should say, bought that Explorer 40mm.
Okay.
At the Rolex AD here. They had it in the window, and then they told me, yeah, sure, I can take it. And then he bought it through me, essentially. I didn't buy it for him, I shouldn't say. I'm not that generous. But I took it to get sized yesterday because he said, he lives in St. Louis, Missouri. He says the Rolex AD is not close to him. So we measured our wrists, and he ended up being the exact same size as my right hand. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, I'll just go take it. I'll get it sized to my right hand. And we took out 2 links, but the problem is that one also doesn't have micro adjust.
Yeah.
And it's a little tight. So the links, because this one had the bigger bracelet, the thicker lugs, and it just wasn't perfectly sized. So it has only the 5mm quick easy link, or whatever you call it.
Yep.
Otherwise, no micro adjust. So first we tried, let's remove 1 link and have the quick link closed.
Yeah.
And it was still way too big. Then we said, okay, let's remove 1 additional link.
Yeah.
And have the quick link open. And then it's too small. So there is zero way of getting it perfect. I mean, it's only a hair tight. So for me, it's fine. And I don't know how my brother wants to wear it, if he likes them looser or tighter. So it doesn't matter. He can figure that out for himself. And also what I noticed, and this goes for everyone, I had the same issue with my Explorer. I noticed that I couldn't get it perfectly fitted. So I went onto the forums and I said, what the fuck? Like, what's going on here? Why is this not working? I mean, it's only 2 links. And somebody said, take 1 link from one side and put it to the other side.
Correct.
But it's the same number of links. You logically say, there's no difference, but it is. It makes a huge difference. Somehow the watch fits differently, and all of a sudden now you're able to wear it more comfortably.
Yeah, totally.
So
totally, I think it's just so much of trial and error. Just find what works for you, for your wrist.
Which with the Santos works, because I can do it at home. But when you have to take it to the Rolex boutique and you tell the guy, nah, can we put that link to the other side? He looks at you like you're crazy.
Yes.
So I've tried this before.
But that's the thing. Sometimes when I recently saw a video on YouTube with somebody getting a watch, and he didn't have any tools to change. He got a fossil watch, an automatic fossil watch, and he was super excited. And I thought, oh, that's so sweet, right? Young guy in his teens. And then you could see him using a paper clip. He used pliers, a paper clip, and a hammer to create a little pin to actually hammer out the pins out of his watch bracelet. Yeah. And it worked. I mean, he made it somehow. He managed to actually get this bracelet sized at home, right? But I thought, yeah. Ingenious, but wow. You don't want to do this on a very expensive watch. But I have the tools now, but I still find it sometimes, when you have the pin and sleeve and you have pin buckles and
my main issue is the screws, the ones where you have to hold them from both sides, the double-sided screws. Those are terrible.
The trickiest, yeah.
But also the Omega and their use of Loctite. How you have to dissolve the glue they're using. So some you heat up, right? Some you would heat up and then the glue would bind. Some you just twist hard enough and they go away. Yeah, but for the Omegas, they use a dissolver of some sort. They drip it onto the screw and that dissolves the glue and then they can open.
Yeah, that's not good. First of all, you need to have the proper screwdriver, which is also very important because if you have a very thin one and you put it in the slot, then of course you create little edges where it pushes, right?
It's not
so
pretty.
You need to have one that fits exactly straight, and then if you have the right one, you can change bracelets all day long. You wouldn't see anybody. But for Rolex, for example, I also have Loctite. I use Loctite all the time when I put screws back into my Rolex bracelets, which I don't do that much anymore because I only have one Rolex left. But when you do this, you have to put in a Loctite that's not the strongest. I think it's called
the weak one.
240, 220, something like that. That has different
there's
levels.
There's the blue one, there's the red one, there's the white one, there's the black
I have
one.
The red one, but it's the lowest one because you don't want to put the really strong one in, because then with these tiny screws, the tiny threads, you might destroy that. So
with the amount of torque you have to put on it to break the Loctite.
Rather err on the side of too little. But
but at the same time, if you see it coming out, like you look at your watch every day, you're going to see it if it's backing out, and then you just tighten it.
I have never lost a screw, knocking on wood.
Yeah.
But
same here.
Do use Loctite if I can, and it's not messing up, the bracelet or anything. So then I try to do that if it's screwed. But nowadays I have not so many actually screwed bracelets in my collection.
What do you mean not so many? I think all of them would be screwed, no? What's
the
GP?
The GP is because it's ceramic. Ceramic doesn't work with screws. So it's spin sleeve.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Some have managed to use screws. I don't know how. Some ceramic bracelets actually use screws, but I don't know how they do this. Maybe they have the setting or something in titanium or something else.
Exactly what I was going to say is I think there's a titanium sleeve or a metal sleeve inside that they're screwing into, because you cannot physically screw into the ceramic.
Yeah, and exactly. And the thing is with and also ceramic on ceramic is not a good idea, and it's all, I don't know. The thing is with ceramic is because when it's actually being baked or ovened, I don't know, heated up, it shrinks, right? So that's why the problem with ceramic is always that you have to produce it bigger, and then while you're heating it up, it actually shrinks down. So tolerances are very, very hard to figure out.
I could only imagine how that would work, but anyway, I told you I got that Forstner. I got two Forstner bracelets, one for my Speedmaster, which I got the Comfit one, which is the traditional one that went to the moon, or one that, the astronauts always wore. I think did we talk about this? Did we not talk about this?
Oh, about your bracelets? No.
Yeah. Okay. So the for those of you that don't know, the Comfit, the Forstner, JB Forstner Comfit bracelets, previously known as JB Champion, and they were bought by Forstner. I don't even know, but they were used in the moon missions or in the space missions because they're so thin that they broke away very easily if the astronaut were to get caught on something. So you imagine wearing your Rolex bracelet. That thing can get caught on anything. Your arm is coming off before that bracelet comes open. Meanwhile, so I guess NASA realized this, that we cannot use regular bracelets. They're too thick. They're too robust.
Is it? Would the spring bar outlast your bones?
But this one, I don't know. It's an excellent question. We can Google if anybody's tried this before. But I remember that they were telling us in when I was back in engineering school, we're working with like the machinery, right? And they said always anything that's stainless steel, be it rings or anything else, you have to remove, because if it gets caught, you are breaking
for sure
body parts off. Essentially, they came out with this. They put this Forstner bracelet on because it's so thin mesh that if it gets caught, it's immediately going to break. So it was actually notorious for being kind of not cheaply constructed, but it's not very robust.
I think it's fair enough, because if you have leather, for example, it will tear eventually, right?
Yeah.
So
eventually.
Yeah, it's not that people are constantly using their leather bracelet watches, unless you wear leather strap that is 100 years old and never got changed, and it's just.
But remember, the funny thing was they had two bracelets or two straps that they used in NASA that were flight approved. One was the Velcro, which they tied on the outside, the whole point was to not lose the watch.
Yeah.
And then in the cabin, they wore the other one, with the point being, if it gets caught, you lose the watch.
So are the astronauts actually changing bracelets while on a mission? Or
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they have multiple watches, and I think one lives on the spacesuit and one lives on their arm in the cabin. So they have one for extra vehicular activities and one for inside. That's my guess.
Because otherwise, I mean, like, okay, let's go for spacewalks. And well, wait a second, I need to change my watch strap. And then I need to find the spring bar that floats in space. So
yeah, exactly. The spring bar would be fun. For
Imagine that shoots out.
Yeah, I know.
That could be so dangerous. I know, that'd be funny. All these small parts.
And then it gets stuck in the machinery somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the other one I want, the whole point of my story here is the other one I bought was a beads of rice bracelet for my Grand Seiko, which is a very nice, because I hate thick bracelets. So all the Grand Seiko ones don't taper. Or if they taper, they taper very, very little.
Very little, yeah.
Right? Like 1 mm or 2 max. So this one is 16 mm all the way. It is super thin. And it gives this very vintage aesthetic. It's a 7.
Yeah, it looks like a Despicable Me. You know the guy? I forgot the name of this guy. The villain.
Gru.
Yeah.
Gru.
He has these tiny little legs.
Yes, exactly. It looks very much like this. Yeah, so it's funny because it looks vintage, and this is what people used to have back in the day. Is these thin, straps or bracelets. But anyway, it is screwed. Single-sided screwed. They sent a screwdriver with it, and it said essentially, you adjust it yourself. And I was, of course, adjusting it. But the pain in the ass here is it's 7 link beads of rice. Each link articulates independently.
Yes,
and you're supposed to align all of them to put the freaking thing back in. It was absolutely a nightmare. And then at the same time, I think I was sitting at the kitchen table, and my wife is telling me, like, we need to go take the dogs for a walk. And I'm like, hold on, I'm going. I didn't expect it to be that difficult.
No, shit.
Yeah, and then one would go out, and then you'd have to start all over.
Yeah, I know. That's so painful with these things. Yeah.
But it was fun. It was fun, and it was something that I've never done before. I've never adjusted bracelets with a screwdriver before. I've done pin and collar. I've done obviously like the quick link ones, but never with a screw, because I was always afraid of stripping the screw head.
Yeah.
So with this, as you said, they gave the correct size of screwdriver. It was perfect. I had no slippage, no issues.
Yeah.
Obviously, I might have scratched the polished side of the bracelet.
Yes.
Because I wasn't careful and I didn't put tape or anything. A lot of people put the tape down.
Correct.
And then poke a hole in it.
Yes.
I didn't do this.
No, I didn't. I usually, you think like, come on, I'm not going to slip. And then beep.
No, you slip every time. Of course I did. But the thing is, I'm looking at it's $100 bracelet. Like, do I really care? So I didn't care. But I was amazed at the quality of these bracelets, both of them for $120. They're both fantastic. So I would say go and check them out.
Forstner bracelets are fantastic. I've not heard anybody have a bad experience with them.
And they do free shipping to UAE.
Oh, yeah.
For $100 bracelet, you get free shipping to UAE.
That's nice.
If you find the code, I think it's free ship or something, and then they will give you free shipping. So it's kind of a good deal. I heard that they have really good deals around the year during Black Friday and things like this.
Yeah, these guys
like 50% off.
And Uncle straps, they are really cool. I mean,
those are the two, right?
Yeah.
Those are the two that Uncle Seiko used to be. Now it's Uncle Straps.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course all of their different names are so funny, right? Because they can't use Jubilee and Oyster anymore.
Yeah.
So they all have Super J, Super whatever.
I don't understand how I don't know how Forstner is able to use, because they use the word Speedmaster and Moonwatch very, very liberally in all of their print stuff on the internet.
Did you see what happened to Deluxe recently? That was on their Instagram messages. I think they had a couple. There was an Instagram message. I don't know if it was a story or something, but they have received like a message from the Swatch group, right? From a product manager, which was a bit surprising that they had a product manager contacting them and not the legal team, right? So basically they said, don't know if I can find this now. They don't have this anymore on their stories. It's a shame. It's gone. I think it was them So basically the story was they were asked to remove the Moonswatch, the word Moonswatch, for their rubber straps for the Moonswatch that they're selling.
Yeah.
Okay, and they said, okay, fine, we'll do this. And then they said, okay, fine, we do this. So they sent it saying, okay, it will be removed. And then they got another message back and said, yeah, and can you also please remove Omega and this and Breguet and blah, blah, all the names from every other names. And you think like, wait, that's just weird, right? And they said, we have basically collaborations with so many other watch companies which are happy for us to use. This is a strap that fits this watch, because the more people wear the watch, and even if it's different straps, and even if you sell your own straps, you might not have all the options. It's just fine.
But at this point, everyone uses these words, right? So if you look at, the rubber bees and all of these other Everest bands, right? All of them are saying this is for the
Rolex 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the Rolex Day-Date, or whatever.
But this is what I'm saying is, how can you expect somebody to buy one of your products if you can't tell them what it's for? This is for that one watch that starts with an O, it has a 300 in the name, and is from 2021 to...
And this is what I don't understand from the watch brands. Is like, come on, this is a watch that allows you to change your bracelets. It's not forbidden, right? You can do it. So why not say this is a strap that fits that watch? It's just... Nobody claims this.
People are going to be Googling this. This is what you start with. You say, I want a watch strap for my Speedmaster.
Placement for an Omega Speedmaster.
Right?
Yeah. And
how are you supposed to find it otherwise?
And this makes no sense. And I think the Swatch Group needs to just get a life. This is it's not endorsing it. It's not anything else. And they're not violating your copyright with using a descriptive word. I feel. I mean, if we can't say Omega anymore, then it's weird.
So here's the thing. There are a number of companies that utilize certain brands' things, right? That go beyond this. These guys over here at D-Lugs are just using the name and making things. I somewhat understand the Cartier debacle that we talked about before, how they're not... they're using a proprietary mechanism. Well, these are regular straps that happen to fit a certain watch. They're not using any proprietary mechanisms. All they're saying is, Omega. Now, here's the issue. I watched a video last night and it popped up on my feed and on my YouTube feed, and I was looking at it like, this sounds interesting. Apparently, there's a guy in New York or wherever up in the New England, and he bought at some, ridiculously, abandoned looking pawn shop or whatever it was, a Louis Vuitton Alma bag, which is one of their, classic Almas. He said he paid $30 for it, thinking it was going to be fully fake. But he just bought it anyways. I'll deal with it later. Took it back home and basically started disassembling it, found out it was actually real. So he said, okay, well, I don't need a bag. It was in really bad condition. So he said, I'm going to cut it up and I'm going to make some wallets. So he cut it up and, he's a leather worker. So he was able to cut up and, make very nice wallets out of it. He said, I made, I think, 13 wallets out of this one bag, and I sold them on Etsy.
Yeah.
A couple months later, he said, he lives on this island off the coast. And essentially he was saying that it was the winter time. And he said, there's no tourists in the winter. And the only people that live here there's a few people, and, in the summer it's overrun with tourists. So he said, we saw a black, Cadillac Escalade pull up with New York plates. And he's like, this is already sketchy because this doesn't belong here. Right. And he said, sure enough, some Louis Vuitton, because apparently Louis Vuitton's US headquarters are in New York. So the license plates added up. Some Louis Vuitton executive, not executive, but, whoever, lawyer, got out and handed him a bunch of papers. And he said, what is this regarding? He says, this is no, not even cease and desist. This was regarding the illegal sale of counterfeit goods. Apparently, Louis Vuitton had bought one of the wallets, analyzed it, and found it to be fake.
Yeah,
found
obviously,
the bag to be
it's not a Louis Vuitton product. It's just used there.
No. Found the bag that was used to be fake.
Oh.
So the original bag that he cut up that he said was authentic, found it to be fake. So he said, because now he says, I do this more and more, right? But he said one of the things he learned was, or that he did, was he keeps all of the handles and he keeps the tags that were inside.
Okay.
Because he said those are much easier to prove authenticity than the actual canvas itself. So he said, how do you prove that it was fake? Because he says, I know my bags and it was real. They said the canvas didn't have this backing cloth on it. And he said, yes, because I removed the backing cloth. I heated it up and I removed the glue that was on it so I can make the wallets thinner. And apparently they had never considered the fact that somebody would go to the lengths of separating these two pieces, the canvas itself, the pattern, and then the backing apart. And they called it fake because of this. So apparently, they ended up leaving it at that. But they did. They drove out there, and he said, the fact is, they drove all the way out here to give
because
me
there's a company that actually makes
lawsuit.
Yeah, actually is ordered to check the internets and whatever, and scavenge for these things to make sure that that the copyrights are not violated.
Correct.
Yeah, we've seen these watch straps, right? Made out of Louis Vuitton bags.
Yeah, and this is where I was getting with this. There's the Louis Vuitton ones, but even
and Gucci
better,
and other things.
I was in Brands for Less, one of my wife's favorite stores, and in Brands for Less, I was looking around, hunting around, and I saw a pair of espadrilles, and they were my wife's size. So I was looking at it like, okay, these are nice. I like it. And I bought them for her for like 100 dirhams. Never heard of the company. The pattern on it looked nice. And they were made in Spain. So I was like, okay, generally a good espadrille will always be made in Spain. There's only like one village that makes proper espadrilles, like the rope soles on the espadrilles. So I was like, okay, I know that. So I said, okay, for 100 dirhams, I'll buy them. Went home, Googled the company, and apparently they are using old Hermes silk scarves to make the tops of the espadrilles. They take them, they cut them up. So essentially the ones that are, really worn, beaten, have holes in it, etc., they'll cut up and they will make the top of the espadrille out of this. And this is a fully operating company. I don't know the magnitude of how many, quantities they're making, but they have a website. They have tons of products available, not just Hermes. Ours happened to be Hermes, but they were doing a bunch of Alexander McQueen and a bunch of other companies as well, and they seem to be operating just fine. And I don't see how this is any different than reusing the canvas from a bag.
It's like the entire idea of recycling.
And this is exactly what he said
right?
in this video. He was saying,
sustainability.
Listen, this is not counterfeiting. This is upcycling, is what he was calling it.
Yeah, exactly.
And apparently, and his argument was, and it never went to court because he was arguing with the lawyers. And he said, what happens to one of your products after it's sold is legally not your concern. And technically, that's got some point to it, right? There's some caveats. You can't take it, and I can't. Put it into a movie or something, right? That would need film rights. But in this case, as long as it's, there's the whole idea of fair use, as long as it's small scale production.
Yes.
We're going.
There's a bit of a gray zone, but of course, as long as you have, logos, company logos that are not your logo, and you put it on your product.
But to make it even better, to put another argument in it, he apparently stamped all of these wallets with his own logo as well.
But was the logo on
the logo of the LV was still showing. And that could have been the issue.
Because with the strap manufacturers that we see for the watches, you can actually choose if you want to have, for example, this pattern logo. I don't know what it is from Louis Vuitton, this pattern one, right?
Which one? The monogram?
Checkered one.
There's the Damier Eben.
Yeah, exactly. This one, you can have it with or without logos, right? Wherever the watch strap is cut out.
Yes.
And this is, so there's always like the Gucci, you want to have the Gucci B on it, or you don't, right? So there's always these.
Hold on. I will pull this out. There you go.
Oh, right. He's showing me.
So if you look, There is, I don't know, where is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the light one there.
Some have
I think,
the logo.
Some have, like this one right here, right there.
Correct.
Has the logo.
And there's a big science when they make these bags of where the logo is located and how they apply the exact ones, and where the logo is, for example, never cut, right? They always arrange the leather in a way that the logo is not cut. It's always matching. So I also have this here. It's quite elaborate. Yeah.
So you can see here how on the edge the logo is never cut off, and if it is cut off, they continue it on the other side with a matching piece.
Yeah.
I have a dog on my keyboard at the moment.
That's okay.
He just climbed up and decided that was a good place to sit.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so this is quite kind of an interesting situation. And, you know, it's I don't know, it's a funny, world we live in where we want to recycle, we want to reuse things. But then the companies are like, nah, you can't do this. And of course, Cartier is famously known for doing this with their watches. Remember this? Where they crushed 100,000 watches because they were, I don't know if these were fake watches or if they were watches that were just not selling.
Yeah, I think, I think it was.
And Louis Vuitton is said to burn stuff as well, right?
Yeah, there was a big controversy. I don't know who that was, Chanel or Cartier or somebody else, but there was a lot of things that actually went back from the boutiques and they just burned it, 500,000 or 5 million worth of products. And then, of course, that made huge waves about what are you doing, right? Obviously, they don't want to discount. There is no sales, right?
Exactly.
So that means everything that is old season, that is not anymore for sale, and that didn't sell, will have to be removed from the boutiques. And you don't want it to appear on some kind of gray market.
So yes, this is exactly what happened. Cartier did. So Richemont bought back 400 million pounds of watches in 2 years. This was in 2017, that they bought back from their retailers. And essentially this was both Cartier and Montblanc. Montblanc was 200 million of unsold watches. Cartier was 500 million euros of unsold watches. They bought them back and they, if I'm not mistaken, ended up getting a steamroller and laying them down and running over them with a steamroller. Yeah. And the whole hopes of this was that they wouldn't end up in the discounted gray market dealers.
And that was
they didn't want Joma Shop getting them.
Bad publicity. And obviously since then they're still taking back sometimes watches. Louis Vuitton, all of these guys do that, but they will be recycled.
They're saying that they're reusing things. And then on top of this, they're also saying that what was it? But we did see, by the way, not even in secondhand markets. We saw in 2016, 2017-ish, in the Rivoli outlets, right? So Rivoli had their outlet in Dubai Mall, or Dubai Outlet Mall, and in the Outlet Village.
Yep.
They had Omega, they had Montblanc for 60% off.
Yeah, they do.
I remember distinctly seeing a Ploprof, one of the old titanium Ploprofs with the gray dial, it was still expensive, obviously. I think it was 40% off. It was still $25,000. And at that time, I know that's still expensive. Yeah. But now if you look at it today, the Ploprofs are going for like $50,000.
Yeah.
They're nuts how expensive they are.
Yeah, that's true.
In retrospect, I should have probably.
Of course, the world is full of watch buying regrets if you look with the hindsight of. But I think this is one of the things, especially when a retailer or distributor loses a brand or decides not to carry the brand anymore, and they have the stock sitting around and they just sell it off for cost price or below. Happened to Bremont. Bremont was Rivoli. Now it's with Siddiqui. So obviously, Rivoli at some
JLC,
stage.
same, right? Rivoli also had a bunch of JLCs.
IWC, same Rivoli in Dubai decided to just sell off them. And it was a private sale. It went only for known customers that actually got the invite first, VVIP first, then VIP, then the normal person maybe for the last bits.
Yeah. Well, we saw this. We had some friends that went to this, right? Yeah. Oh, no, that was not this. That was Siddiqui.
Yeah, that was Siddiqui.
That was doing it. Yeah, Siddiqui was doing this massive fire sale as well. And speaking of fire sales, that brings us very neatly into our next topic, which we're almost out of time, so we'll just briefly talk about it. Hodinkee, again. You've listened to our Hodinkee episode, hopefully, by now.
Yes.
But guess who else is having a fire sale? Hodinkee. And unbelievable prices. I mean, most companies, when you see, discounts, they would start at like, okay, well, here's 20% off. Then there's 30% off. Then there might be 50% off. If you're lucky, you get 70. Well, these guys, right off the bat, they're like 85% off. Done. Here, take them. Get rid of everything. And they had straps that were originally they used to be $165. Then they brought them down to 125-ish. Yes. 135, 125. And Ralph and I, bought up quite a few.
Yep.
For $22 a piece.
Yeah, there was
leather
an extra
straps.
10% discount. There were 25.
That was because there's 25 with an extra 10, you're $22.50.
Crazy.
I bought four of them. One goat skin, one suede, one calf skin, and one of the McBride, the textured.
Yeah, I also bought a few. About the same amount, I think, and it's or a bit more, I don't know, but it's really because
you bought like 10 of them.
No,
I think
no.
Yes,
but it was
8 at least.
But it was, I mean, this is the price of normally one, right?
Well, this is the thing. I with the discount, I spent for 4 $90.
Yeah,
for 4 leather straps.
That is insane. So I hope the quality is good, but
well, they haven't changed the quality.
Some of
quality,
them,
all of mine.
Yeah, some of them were available in my odd sizes because now I thought, now let me go the 19 millimeter, the 21 millimeter route because they usually are not easy to get, especially not cheap, right? So in this case,
which is what I did. I did all 19,
21, and all of these. I just 22 as well for some of my watches. So yeah, I did.
I saw that they had a bunch of 21s, which is generally you don't see too many 21s.
Yeah.
So they did have a bunch of those. But once again, the quality of these are great. The ones, I don't know which ones you bought, but I bought the ones the Reed goat skin, which I've held and I've played with before. It's a very nice one. The McBride strap, the textured one, is very nice. The calfskin one is good, and definitely the suede one is super nice. So those 4 I can vouch for, and I think they're, I have the suede one now on my Reverso. I had it before on my Grand Seiko GMT. Mm-hmm. So they're good for sure. And then they also had their Perlon straps for $4. $4.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have any good colors or sizes. That's the only downside. But they're still $4. I mean, you cannot fault a $4 strap.
No, totally not. I mean, this is the price of a springbar. A good springbar.
If you're lucky. I once spent $30, $35, 35 pounds. I don't even know what it was.
For a springbar, that must have been a hand-forged, Swiss-made springbar.
No, it was JLC spring bars, so they say. The issue was on the JLC Reverso, we have this overhang, kind of like a cantilever thing, right? And the strap goes underneath it. And if I tried, because the JLC now uses those quick release spring bars, so it would only work with quick release straps, right? Or actually the strap that is built into. Mm-hmm. If I worked hard enough, I'm sure I could get it out and put it into another one. But the problem was, I was like, okay, well, I have 19 millimeter spring bars, aplenty. I'll use those. And they were too thick. You couldn't get a strap in there into that little crevice. And then if you did, the strap ended up getting scratched up because when you bent it, it looked horrible. So that's why I was like, fine, I'll buy the expensive spring bar. And I did, and it worked perfectly. So there you have it.
2 things I have to talk to you about, or 3 things. There are no Speedmaster Moonswatch, the 3 new ones. What do you think? Meh.
Pass. Meh.
I really like the aventurine dial of the green one.
Yes.
But I don't like the green. So I like the dial.
Exactly. If they made it all blue, if it was the same as the Neptune, they could have made it better. Imagine all black with that aventurine dial. They have, but the fact is, they're still going. They're still making these, and I'm surprised because I thought they would have moved on to the Blanc Pawn. Speaking of this, by the way, I listened to a Hodinkee podcast, an older one, from December, I think it was. And apparently they're guessing what the next one is going to be. And while people think that Swatch is going to stay in the Swatch group, apparently there's rumors that they're not. And these rumors are essentially, fairly well founded from legitimate people. Apparently there's a line of companies knocking on Swatch's door saying, do mine next.
Oh,
because they've seen the
uptick.
Now we're talking,
they've seen the uptick of selling this the reference
they see
watch,
the brand exactly. Yeah. So apparently a lot of companies not in the Swatch group have come. One of them notoriously was apparently Breitling, and the talks were of a Swatch Navi timer.
What?
Could you imagine a Swatch Navi timer? That would be so friggin' cool. With the same, you can use the same movement as the Moonswatch.
That would be cool
because the layout is the same.
That would be interesting, but
with a big old bezel with the calculator on it, I think that'd be super cool. So
I was thinking
see what happens.
No, okay.
Hublot would be interesting, but there's a few brands that could kind of come in here, and I think it would be interesting. It would be neat. So
then
plastic Nomoses. Could you imagine? That would be totally cool.
Yeah,
I think it literally makes so much money with this.
Next one I wanted to ask you, did you see the new Louis Vuitton watches? The Escale.
Yeah. As I sent you on Instagram, there was a nice brodinky thing, and it said, stop trying to make Louis Vuitton watches happen.
Yeah, but it's. I think they're already there. I mean, they have already haute
cool. I had no issues with it. Yeah, I had no issues. I thought it was a good looking watch.
Fabrique du Temps.
Would I buy one? No.
No, not for 30,000. This is the problem. They still have to go in this kind of perception that this is a watch that actually maintains that.
As Mr. Arnault said, this is not for you.
Yeah, and it's
he said this is not for everyone.
Yeah, and it will take time, but I think the way they're going. Look at Hermes. They were at the beginning. Everybody's like, "Oh, Hermes watches." Now they're actually,
now they're going. Quite good. Okay, all right.
So,
and the third
one is that's very, very important for the Lume plotters. The new IWC full
Lume dial. There we go. Finally,
chrome, whatever it was.
It's not.
Thing.
No, sorry. I apologize. Not full Lume dial. Not full Lume dial.
Lume case.
Full loomed case. Yes. Case.
And even Lume woven into the strap, so the entire watch is glowing. And apparently, this ceramic infused with Superluminova, the strongest one that you can get, glows for 24 hours when it's fully charged. So if you have this light source on your wrist, you will be glowing around at night. And
now imagine walking through London alleyways with a glowing watch. Lewis Hamilton's going to get mugged.
Yeah, or in the club, right, with the black light, and it will glow like crazy. Yeah,
it would. It was super cool, but of course, there's no function. Yeah, right. It doesn't actually need to be there, but it's cool. I mean, it is cool. I like it.
I have this Night Safari from Casio ProTrack.
Yes,
which has underside of the strap is fully loomed, of the plastic strap. And so if you put this on, because it's half loomed and it's fully charged, and you put this on your wrist, it looks like your wrist is glowing. It looks like a science fiction movie. It's super cool, right? Because it glows blue.
I mean, I haven't seen it glow. That's the problem, is I haven't seen the IWC glowing yet.
But
there's been no good pictures of
this. Does it make any practical sense? Absolutely not. It has no sense.
All right. Yeah. All right. And one last thing, because we're greatly out of time always. I wanted to talk about the new Tudor FXD, which is made by Zenith. So everybody always said, how can we make the FXD better, right? Why doesn't Tudor make it so that there's a bracelet? How would you do this? Blah, blah, blah. Well, Zenith has come out and answered this question. So Zenith, in their new diver, their Extreme Diver, I think is the Defy Extreme Diver is what it's called, has made it integrated bracelet, quick change, of course. You could pop in a rubber strap, so you get a rubber strap with it as well. So now you got a bracelet and a rubber strap, and boom, they made end links that pop in, and they have fixed spring bars. So you put a NATO strap in it, and when those end links are in, it looks exactly or very similar to a Pelagos FXT. So essentially making it a fixed spring bar watch.
Yeah, that is genius. That is absolutely amazing. That's exactly what
I could make my Cartier Santos fixed spring bars with just a small attachment.
This is why I think, when people said, oh, there's no innovation anymore, the year is so boring. Look at what happened. We have a fully loomed watch. We have a watch with replaceable end links, even in air quotes, permanent spring bars that you can remove. It's like, ooh.
Yes, it's super cool.
And you have...
Obviously, the whole point of these spring bars were originally you welded them up so that they wouldn't fall off. But this is a little bit strange because obviously it could still fall up.
Yeah, but it's and then you have the eternal calendar with the moon phase for 45 million years. You have the chronometer, you have the gyro tourbillon from JLC, you have the most complicated watch in the world from Vacheron Constantin, this big pocket watch that they made for Berkeley. There is so much innovation happening in the watch world, and people say it's boring. Just because no dial colors from Rolex came out.
Correct, exactly.
Like, no innovation.
Let's get to the heart of the matter.
Come on. There's so much happening.
Anyway, so there is things going on. So we hope you enjoyed our rambling episode.
Absolutely. And we hear you next week. Bye-bye.